Can I still use these headphones with the 10?
Yeah, but you'll need an adapter, or as most people like to call it, a dongle.
A what?
A dongle.
A dongle?
Yeah, a dongle. It comes in the box.
But what if I just need to charge at the same time?
Then you're gonna need another type of dongle.
Like a double dongle?
Yeah, double dongle, I guess.
That sounds explicit.
Samsung did something a little bit interesting today, and I'm sure this is going to be a fascinating topic and a very controversial one for a lot of you, so without further ado, let's talk about this Infinity O display on the Galaxy A8s. And as it turns out, Samsung has a limit on how many holes they allowed on their phone, because if you want a camera hole on the display, looks like you can't have a headphone jack. So all of your Apple complaints about just doing it for money and just doing it because they want to make more money, you can all start redirecting those to Samsung now as well. Okay, now everyone calm down. I know, I try to engage in an emotional way in the first beginning of this video, but yes, I've seen the leaks too. The Galaxy S10 is probably going to have a headphone jack. We're seeing CAD files with the headphone jack. We're seeing cases made by manufacturers that are saying it has the headphone jack. We get it, okay? I don't need comments full of the Galaxy S10 will have a headphone jack, so this isn't a problem. What I'm trying to say though is Samsung once again is shooting themselves in their foot with their marketing team. Samsung has relentlessly mocked Apple for removing the headphone jack through marketing stunts in the past few years, and the sad thing is the iPhone removed the headphone jack in 2016, and it was at the later half of 2016, so now it's really funny to me to say that Samsung was mocking and hating Apple for ditching the headphone jack before so many people think it was ready to be removed, or many of you think it should never be removed at all, yet Samsung went ahead and decided to remove the jack on their own phones 2 years later. Now, again, I'm in favor of this. In fact, this is not supposed to be a Galaxy A8s impressions video, and frankly, it's because I don't have much to say about it anyway. I look at the A8s and I go, hey, there's no curved edges. I kind of like that. There's no headphone jack. I'm used to that. And depending on the price point, it might be a fairly decent phone for a lot of countries overseas. I understand it is not a popular lineup here in the US, but by all means, it looks like a very capable, very decent phone. What's just funny to me is the irony behind Samsung mocking and pointing and laughing at other companies removing the headphone jack or adopting notches and mocking how people have camera cutouts on their displays to then go ahead and make a camera cutout on their display, put it in a very interesting position. In fact, last time we talked about the camera hole versus the notch on smartphones, a lot of you guys in the comments brought up some very valid points. There's some more things in the user interface that typically sit in the corners of phones, which brought you guys up to a lot of concerns about, the hamburger menus or the profile pictures that you have between Twitter and Instagram, and that there's usually buttons in the top left and top right corners of the display, and the fact that they decided to put the camera hole off to the left instead of in the middle might throw off third-party developers quite a bit. A concern I've also seen brought up about the camera hole versus the notch is that in order for the camera hole to work, since the hole is quite a bit bigger than a lot of people's concepts were, they have to move the camera more into the visual display area just so they can fit more pixels behind the camera. That way it looks a tad more futuristic. They can say, we didn't put a notch, it's not a notch, we didn't do a notch. But regardless, if you want to just say camera cutout, this is simply another way of doing that. And logically, if you think about it, a camera cutout, an Infinity O display, literally has no advantages compared to a standard corner cutout notch. This literally means nothing except the fact that they had to move the camera a little bit more into the viewing area of the phone so they could stuff those pixels back there. Whereas if you think about it, if they just did a notch, they did a corner cutout, sucked up some of their mockery and said, you know what, we're sorry, we're gonna have to do a notch too. And if they just did a camera cutout in the corner of the display, that means they could actually move that camera out of the way a little bit more. They could make it less intrusive if they push that camera up into the top left corner and didn't worry about having pixels go around it, because then the camera wouldn't be more towards the middle. Some of you might not understand what I'm talking about, and that's absolutely fine, because the Infinity O display was incredibly predicted. We had seen the leaks. Everyone basically knew it was coming, and we know we're gonna see it on the Galaxy S10, and it appears to be even thicker and more of a pill form and on the right. So now they've got certain phones with camera holes on the right, certain phones with camera holes on the left. This is gonna be a huge nightmare for Android developers. Hopefully they can tackle this in a way that's effective. But what I'm here more primarily to talk about is Samsung deciding, you know what, for this particular phone, we're gonna remove the headphone jack. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going away overnight or that it's going away on the Galaxy S10. It will likely be there on the Galaxy S10. And you know what? It'll probably be there on the Galaxy Note 10. But what this means is that Samsung really needs to start reeling back their advertising and mockery of companies removing removing headphone jacks, because pretty much we all know the downsides, okay? We all know that you can't use it with your old headphones. Wired headphones sound better when they support the higher audio files, or we know there's that one guy who does like professional audio engineering on his phone and wants to make sure that he gets the most amount of bit rate out of the headphone jack as possible. We all know those guys, but we also have to understand 99% of users are using their included headphones that came with the phone. They don't care about latency and audio quality, and for the most part, typical Bluetooth headphones out there's plenty of wireless headphones out there, are going to be decent enough for the average consumer. The big complaint though is that you have to go out and buy a new pair of headphones. You can't use your old one. Well, now it seems like it's getting to the point where the cheaper phones Samsung might start making are going to be the ones that don't have headphone jacks, and you'll get to keep the headphone jack if you pay extra, which is kind of blurring the lines between the headphone jack argument, because now you got to pay extra to access legacy features. And that was a big complaint for a lot of people who didn't want to use Bluetooth because they don't want to go out and buy new headphones. That costs me more money, or I have to buy an adapter. Well, now looks like in order to keep your headphone jack so you can keep using your old headphones, you're going to have to pay more. You're going to have to buy a more expensive product. You're going to have to get a more premium phone just so that you can access that headphone jack. And of course, I think this obviously means if they're okay with removing the jack on one phone, you're very easily going to see this removed port carried out onto the rest of the Galaxy lineup, because we now know the engineers and the R&D team at Samsung Galaxy specifically are not afraid to remove it. They're not hesitant anymore. They know that they wanted to have bigger batteries in there. They know that they wanted to stuff more features into the phone, and removing that jack was getting more tempting and more tempting. Specifically, there were phones without headphone jacks outselling phones with headphone jacks. That happened multiple times throughout 2018, between the iPhone 10 outselling Galaxy products, between the iPhone 8 even outselling Galaxy products. In my opinion, a way more boring phone that has a very traditional design but had no headphone jack, it started outselling the Galaxy S9 Plus, and of course the iPhone XR and XS. People are okay with not having headphone jacks, and I was absolutely confident in previous videos that the Samsung engineers were seeing that market trend and going, oh guys, can we please remove the jack now? Everyone seems to be okay with it. We could stuff so much more into a phone. We could do Infinity O displays. We could get thinner chins. We could do more if you let us remove it. But I'm sure the head of the design team was like, no, we gotta keep it around because our marketing team wants to keep doing publicity stunts where they mock Apple for camera cutouts and for notches and for removing the headphone jack. But guess what? Galaxy A8s, maybe it's new management. Maybe someone came into the R&D department and said, guys, you know what? Sales are down. Galaxy S9, that was a bit of a disappointment for a lot of people. I think we got to rethink our strategy a little bit. So they make camera cutouts. They make irregularities in the display. They hopped over the idea of saying it's a notch, even though it's essentially the same thing. The only difference is there's pixels behind your camera now, but the way it makes the phone work, the way you're all going to get used to it, the way you're all going to excuse it as, well, this is fine. It's the same way a notch works. You get used to it being there. Apps have to work around it. The only problem with Android is the fact that so many other OEMs are using notches that apps can like kind of prepare for that, whereas the Galaxy phones coming out that have camera holes in the corner where not a lot of other phones are used to, you may see a lot of third-party apps not be optimized and not be updated for your Samsung phone yet, because everything on your widgets on the top have to be scooted over. You know, when you look in the corner of your screen and you see your battery and your Wi-Fi and your cellular, all that gotta scoot it over a little bit. Everything's gonna be pushed together. That's why I don't get why they can't put it in the middle. I feel like there's less data there most of the time. It would be easier for third parties to adapt to it because they're already adapting to notches. I've already seen how Android handles notches on the Pixel 3 XL, and it's not pretty. So seeing how they're gonna handle a camera cutout in the corner, it's gonna be very interesting. But regardless, you don't need to tell me that the next Galaxy phone coming to the US is gonna have a headphone jack. I get it. All I'm saying is now that there are people in the Samsung Galaxy team that are finally opening up the doors to things they used to keep closed. And I don't even think it makes sense as an argument for them to say, well, Bluetooth technology, it's so much better now. We just wanted to wait until the technology was ready. Well, you know what? Guess how that technology became ready? Big companies removed the jack and they pushed the industry forward. Bluetooth technology, it was getting a little bit better over time, but the most amount of advancements and the most amount of reasons so many people have been buying more Bluetooth headphones is because previously they didn't have to, but then when they were forced to by removing the jack on so many popular smartphones, that made them start looking for Bluetooth technology. That created a market for it, and when there's more people buying into it, that means more research, more investment can be made into it. That's how Bluetooth gets better. Also, the best-selling Bluetooth headphones from 2 years ago when the iPhone 7 removed the headphone jack, those are some of the same headphones that are the top-selling Bluetooth headphones now. So please don't try to make the argument that we've had some type of monumentous improvement in wireless performance and that's what they were waiting for. No, they They wanted everyone to get used to it. They wanted everyone to get accustomed to the fact that most smartphones don't have headphone jacks. That way, when they remove it, everyone goes, oh yeah, I guess. Oh, okay, yeah, you guys can I don't really care anymore. They knew exactly what they were doing. They played it safe. They didn't want to take any of the blame for pushing the industry forward. And they knew that they could keep those customers that appreciated the legacy ports, even though they had no intention of keeping it around forever. So I apologize if you love the headphone jack. Looks like Samsung's finally okay with removing it. And I imagine by 2020, you'll probably stop seeing it on all Galaxy products. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think of the Galaxy A8s down in the comments below. And also, we moved our merch to Teespring. We got some limited edition designs. They're only available till Christmas. Check out the link in the description on Teespring. The prints are better, they're higher quality, the logos are larger, and all the prices have been lowered for our traditional designs. Please check them out. This is your Alp Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.